I want to. And then I shut the door, but I knew it wasn't over yet. Not by a long shot, because now they were desperate. And desperate people, they start making moves they can't take back. The next move didn't come from Owen. It came from my mother. 3 days after that knock on my door, a thick envelope showed up in my mailbox. No return address, just my name scrolled in familiar cursive. Inside was a letter handwritten 2 pages, and at the bottom of the second, folded with forced precision, was a faded photo of me, maybe 5 or 6 years old, smiling with a birthday cake in front of me and my mom standing behind her, hands on my shoulders like a picture-perfect parent. The letter started with, "I don't know when you became this cold, Nathan, but I miss my son." It continued with an elaborate retelling of my childhood. How much she sacrificed, how she worked nights to buy me that bike, how she never asked for anything in return but love and understanding. She wrote about losing your dad too soon and how hard it was to raise boys alone. And then the pivot came right on cue. "You always seemed to understand, Nate. That's what made you special. You were the strong one. You never complained. You just helped. You always helped." That part hurt more than I expected because she was right. I did help, but not out of strength, out of obligation, out of fear, out of a deep, twisted belief that if I didn't carry their weight, no one else would. And worse, that maybe I wasn't worth anything to them unless I did. She ended the letter with, "I hope you find your way back to this family before it's too late. We still love you, even if you've forgotten how to love us back." It was a guilt grenade wrapped in nostalgia and tied with a bow of martyrdom. And for a second, just a second, I felt it working. I felt the old strings pull. Then I looked at the photo again. It wasn't the one I remembered because in my memory, that birthday had ended with me crying. My cake smashed. Owen had thrown it off the table because I got the bigger present. And my mom, she scolded me for making a scene. That photo was the only good part of that day. A free frame before the yelling started. A moment weaponized now to manipulate me. That was the turning point. The next morning, I boxed up the photo and letter and dropped them off at her porch unopened, unfolded. No note, just silence returned to cinder. And that silence didn't last because the following week they escalated. They sent someone to talk to me. Well, ambushed me, more like it. It was at a local cafe I used to visit on Thursdays during my lunch break. I hadn't changed my routine, which in hindsight was my mistake. I was sipping an Americano and reading a book when I heard a voice I hadn't heard in years. "A book? Still pretending you're too smart for the rest of us, huh?" I looked up. It was Uncle Darren. If you've ever met someone who managed to combine sleeves with a sense of entitlement so thick it should come with a warning label, you know the type. Darren had been cut off from half the family for borrowing money he never paid back. But somehow he always slithered back in during drama, like a vulture circling a fresh wound. He pulled out the chair across from me without asking and sat down like we were old buddies catching up. I told him not to send a letter. I said, "Nate's a man. You talk to men face to face. But your mom, she's got a soft heart, you know. That woman raised you." I didn't reply. I just stared at him, calm blank. He took my silence as an invitation to continue. "Now, I don't know what kind of tantrum this is or what they said to get you this mad, but you're hurting people who love you, kid. Your mom's a wreck. Your brother's sleeping on my couch. You really going to keep this up?" I blinked slowly. Is that the part you were sent here to say? Or is the guilt trip just a bonus? His smirk dropped slightly. "I came because I care," he said. "But if you keep going down this road, you're going to find yourself real alone, Nathan. That's not what family does." I leaned forward. "No," I said, "that's exactly what family does. My family, at least. Pretends silence is love. Pretends obligation is connection. Pretends guilt is currency." He sat back, mouth twitching. "I'm not the bad guy here," he muttered. "You were never even part of the story," I said, picking up my cup. He didn't leave quietly. He huffed, muttered something under his breath, and knocked over the creamer tray as he stormed out. The barista gave me a look. I shrugged and returned to my book. But that wasn't the end. That was just the preview because 2 days later, I got a notification from my bank. Someone had attempted to log into my account. Then again and again. Password reset requests, access denied. I changed everything, locked it all down, contacted my bank, and flagged every account under my name. I'd grown up with these people. I knew how desperate they could get when things stopped being convenient. And then came the text that confirmed it all. From Owen, "You think you're better than us? Fine. Just remember who changed your diapers, who fed you. You owe this family everything. And when mom's gone, don't show up crying." I stared at the screen for a long time. That last line, that was it. That was the line they always used when they needed to guilt me into coming back. When mom's gone, it wasn't just a warning. It was a threat. They still thought I could be manipulated. Still thought love meant death. Still thought I could be scared into returning. But this time I wasn't walking away. This time I was cutting them out. And the way I'd do it would leave no room for comeback. No misunderstanding, no public Facebook martyrdom. They were about to feel what life without me really looked like. I didn't respond to Owen's message. Not with a text, not with a call, not with a single word. Instead, I logged into the financial management software I use for my consulting work. The same one where I'd set up all the recurring payments, emergency transfers, and family-linked accounts. For years, I had folders labeled family support, subcategories named after the people I was helping. Mom utilitias Owens Auto, Tasa Pet Emergencies. What started as short-term help slowly became permanent lifelines. None of them ever asked when it would stop. They just assumed it wouldn't. That day, I deleted the entire folder. But I wasn't done. I spent the next week preparing my final move. Not a revenge stunt, not a dramatic explosion. Something clean, unmistakable, permanent. I sold the duplex my mother was living in. It was entirely in my name. I bought it years ago after landing my first major client.